Alright, you're with Al, and this is Down the Line, episode 6. So me and the Biff this week, we've got another major guest on. Another 3-time major guest. PADRAIG Harrington. Absolute legend. What a great fella. Look, I've even got his flag on the wall here. Carnoustie flag sign. This is a temporary location. It's actually blue tacked to the Rossi frame at the moment, so we'll get it its own frame. But yeah, quality bloke. We spoke on this for a good 2 hours. So we've split it up into 2 parts. This is part 1, and we cover literally everything, to be fair, from when PADRAIG started playing golf to the videos he's been making during lockdown on Twitter and Instagram, which, by the way, if you haven't seen them, definitely go over there and watch them. I'm going to stop speaking now because I'm sure it's PADRAIG you want to listen to. I don't reckon he's going to have anything signed by me or the Biff in the background like I have here, but got my fingers crossed.
I've got 2 of these, and one of them is propping up the iPad.
Oh, quality.
Look at that.
That's old school as well, isn't it?
It's Bernard Langer's shoe from the 2004 Ryder Cup. So these are the shoes before. He sent us all a pair signed afterwards. So I have a pair on display, and I just saw them and says, okay, they can prop up the video here.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Anyone hasn't seen the videos, by the way, you should watch on they're on Instagram and Twitter, aren't they? Or stuff.
Yeah.
They're absolutely brilliant. Like, you don't get chance. It's only this sort of situation where you get chance to watch someone like yourself and learn from someone that's been pretty much the best in the game. So, but I've got a couple of little questions on. One is, how close were you to the house when you were in like that 4-iron over the house? Because that looked so close. I thought that's where the bottles come from winning majors, is he's pinging 4-irons over his house every day. How was he doing that?
What is it? Objects in the mirror look further away than appear closer than they are, which is a.
Yeah.
I think if you're always watching TV, when you see somebody hitting out through a gap in the trees, and you think, "Oh my God, how can they do it?" There is a bigger space, I think, than you realise. In my house, it's probably 60 yards away from the house.
Okay.
Look, I have hit the house.
The thin one still in the house, isn't it?
I've actually hit every part of those, but that shot in particular would only hit the tiles. I'm actually more pushing it and catching. There's a lamppost on the right hand side. I'm in the middle of a podcast. I'm always busy. I've hit a lot of tiles. I've hit the odd window. I've never broken a window from the outside, even though I've hit a few. We have a nice conservatory on the house that I've shanked 1 or 2 that's hit that.
Hang on. Can we just go back? You've never broke a window from the outside?
Yeah, I've broken it from the inside going out. If you went into my golf room, I actually built a golf simulator in the room now, a full swing golf simulator. It used to be just a net, and it was quite pretty, but after a while, stuff builds up in a room. You know, Paul.
Yeah.
You get stuff, and it just piles up. So I had drawers built, and all of a sudden the drawers were getting in the way, and it hit the ball through the drawer through the net, and it would hit the drawer and rebound back. So I split the mirror behind me. I put a lot of holes in it, and I did break the window. So if you're going to practice, and especially if the practice I do when I'm indoors, I'd be doing very trying things, experimenting. You're going to hit bad shots. Probably learned this as a kid, maybe when I was about 14. The clubhouse of my golf club, Stackstown, there was, for whatever reason, there was an apartment up top, and I was up there, and I got to see the roof once. And there was golf balls on the roof of the clubhouse. Like, for the life of me, how can a golf ball get up here? And golf balls get everywhere. You're going to hit a golf shot, they hit something, ricochets. They just go everywhere. So you're going to break things. That's the way it is.
I remember when I was about 12, I did it with the House and DJ 107 would have got for Christmas Day. First swing, smash, gutted, ruined Christmas. Like, it was like, oh.
Did you damage the club though?
I had a little scratch on the top. I remember the scratch. I was absolutely gutted. I was like, it's my first ever brand new club as well. And I was absolutely gutted. I think I've still got it. So I should use it. I was good with that club, actually.
You can tell when I'm talking to the kids and things, you're talking about whether they, whatever their passion, whatever they're following. And I said, well, look, if you have a passion for something, you go to bed thinking about it, you get up in the morning thinking about it, and if you follow sport. But just like you just said there, Alex, I grew up from the age of probably 15, maybe 14, but certainly 15. I got a new club for my birthday and Christmas. Like that's, you know, nobody bought. I actually played for Junior Ireland under 15s with a set. I owned half a set of golf clubs and I borrowed the other half off my brother. And there were knockoffs in the first place. There were knockoff Ping Eye ones. Remember the Ping Eyes they were called at the time. That's 110 punts for the whole set. I owned half, my brother owned half. And I played in, my first one was Renfrew. Yeah. Was it Renfrew? No, it wasn't Renfrew. It was Kilmarnock Barassi. So 1987. And I played it. I remember I didn't play against the guy. I caddied against the guy because I caddied for Gary McNeil, who's the pro at Portrush now, who played for Great Britain and Ireland that weekend. We played the home internationals, then the Great Britain and Ireland played, and then the British Amateur. So I caddied at the weekend, and the guy he played against had a set of Ping Eye 2 Brilliants with graphite shafts. Yeah. Like they were 1,900 quid for the Ireland. And I was trying to beat him, like compete against him in the British Amateur, playing with a set of golf clubs, half a set of clubs I'd borrowed that were 110 quid, that had never, ever been checked for lies or lofts or anything like that. You just played with what you had.
I was going to say, I was always small. I am small now. I never really grew, but
I can vouch for that.
Like small as a kid, you know. I was always like a late developer, I suppose. I'm still waiting. I'm 35 now, but I had a set of clubs, like cut down ladies clubs, until I was 16, and I was playing off like, I don't know, Paul, what was off then? Maybe 3 or something around that. You were definitely Cat 1. You were definitely category 1, yeah. I was using a set of cut down ladies clubs, and it was like I never knew any different. It's just what I learned to play with. And I remember and I was a cocky little kid, like I remember being in like bunkers in front of the clubhouse, and our 18th is a big bunker balcony full of people. I used to go into that bunker with like a 7-iron in my hand and just like play out with a 7-iron just because I could. And I think having that, I mean, I wouldn't do it now. No chance I'd be doing it now. I think you learn to play the game. You learn to play the game so much more. And what do you think that was part of your development? I mean, you've seen the change really in your sort of era of golf massively, haven't you, from the clubs that you would have started with to now?
100%. It made a huge difference. You know, as I said, before I had a uniform half set, I had, you know, a 4-iron, a 6-iron, and an 8-iron sort of thing. And, you know, the 6-iron might go further than the 4-iron, but it went with a fade, and the 4-iron went. You knew your own equipment. Each thing did a different job, and you used it for reasons on the golf course. And players, the kids, you know, they don't know that now. But the problem is, you will have very successful kids that will have a set of men's clubs and the best equipment at 12 years of age. I wouldn't recommend it. I tell the kid to stay in the lightest, shortest clubs for as long as possible. Yeah. I would say you don't need a full set of golf clubs. I would say for sure don't use a lob wedge. You know, that's makes it too easy. But the kids get competitive, and you will find one that will be successful doing it the exact opposite to how I would recommend. I will say I took out an old 8-iron for one of my lessons the other day. Actually, the original club I had, first club I've ever picked up, I still have it. And it was so easy to hit like that bunker shot.
With a really thin edge on it, a tape on the grip. I did see it. I've been watching.
You couldn't do it with it. You couldn't do it with a modern 8-iron, and you certainly couldn't do it with the clubs that they build for amateurs. You know, the mid-range amateur club. It has soul on it, but like you could never turn that down. Whereas this 8-iron, like I was looking at, and I was going, God, you could do anything you liked with this club. Like I was actually looking at it and going, gee, if they ever brought back you're only allowed carry. Not ever brought back, but if they ever brought in the rule that you can only carry 12 clubs, I'm going for a wedge like this, because you could just hit any golf shot you wanted. It was, I wonder, did it make me a good chipper, because it just was so comfortable to pick up, and it just opened up whatever you wanted to do with it. It did.
I think you're right. Exactly what you said about the lob wedge as a kid. It can make it too easy, can't it? That development, I think, of the imagination, that sort of, and that's been a massive thing in your career, hasn't it? Short game is, I mean, you're probably one of the best in the world when you were, you know, when you were on form with a short game. It's just unbelievable to watch.
I live by my short game. There's no doubt about it. My whole strategy is based on my short game. So if I hit it in the trees, I will always try and get it to the green. I'll take a big chance to tread it through the trees and run it up to the green, because I know I have an advantage in and around the green. I never lay up on par fives. I always go for it, always trying to press that advantage. Now, it got harder for me, like 2010, when they changed the rules with the box grooves, it made it a lot harder. I was in 2006, 7, 8, 9. I was like right on top of the world with my chipping because of the grooves. It meant I could literally get. There was never a chip shot I couldn't get up and down. After 2010 onwards, they changed it. But it was just got so difficult. If you were just in the wrong place, a 40-yard chip from short in the rough on a par 5 was not the place to be at times. There was a number of changes, which was just. I'm getting used to it now. It's taken that long. I still hit my chips a little bit too firm, thinking. I still have this idea in my head that it's going to spin. I actually went to a 64 degree this year, which was interesting. The 64 degree now flies and comes off in terms of distance and height the exact same as my 58 degree when I was an amateur using a softer ball. So when I hit the 64 and look up, where I expect the ball to land, the height it goes is exactly like I would have had as an amateur. Whereas, the golf balls, everything's got firmer because we wanted to go further. The grooves have changed, but they probably haven't changed that much now. The grooves now, I was using box grooves. I was using those pin grooves back in the day as well. So that's why I got, like, just for feel and perception, I used the 64, even though I could play all the shots with a 60. It just feels the exact same as it might have done back in the day. And by the way, the best short game I ever had in terms of chipping was right at the end of my amateur career. So I've been good as a pro, but I was like, I hit chip shots like you were just talking about. You're going in there with your 7-iron out of the bunker, Alex. When I was right at the end of my career as an amateur, I would choose to hit shots that I would never even consider now. I'm much more pro now. I look at it and go, well, this is the right option. This is.
I think everyone would want to actually see that, Patrick.
Yeah.
To be honest, if you're saying your short game's calmed down a little bit, I actually want to see that old school style, please. Start hitting shots like that more often.
But I can't do it. It's my short game is good now because of strategy. Whereas my short game back then, I just would hit the shot. It didn't matter to me in any shape or form how difficult it is. I always remember that this really explains to me. I played David Higgins in the Irish Close in 1985 match play final. We both hit it over the back of the 18 green. I just lost 16 and 17, so I'm feeling bad. We're all tied over the back of the green. We've got tight fairway. We've got about 20 feet of fairway and about 10 feet of green. And David takes out putter and puts up stone dead. And I go second. And I hit lob wedge, flop it up, stone dead. Like, I walk off that green in Portmarnock. Every day I walk off the green and look at it and go, what was I doing? Like, nobody would. Like, it's just the stupidest, craziest. But I didn't bat, like, under the most pressure I could be. I didn't bat an eyelid. This is what I do. I hit this shot, flop it up, stone dead. And nowadays I'd be, give me the putter. I'm pretty safe with this. Yeah. And in the end of the day, I got that one up and down. I get the putter up and down now. So it's not that. It's not it wouldn't make me a better golfer to be the other way. It's just a different way of playing.
It's not as fun, is it? It's not as fun.
No. I tell you where I learned this. There was a guy, he great Irish amateur golfer called Mark Gannon. He played, he captained the Irish amateur team as well. But he's the best short game I've ever seen growing up.
If you're saying that, it must be ridiculous, to be fair.
Yeah, it was starting. Best putter I've ever seen, on top of being a great chipper. But he did something on chipping that to this day, I can only suggest maybe Seve would have been like this. So if he was chipping over a bunker, and say he had 30 feet of green. So if I was doing that, I'd pitch it 15 feet over the bunker. So I've got 15 feet of room and I've got 15 feet to stop it. So I'd hit it up high enough to stop it in that 15 feet, but that would be the shot. He'd take out, so that say it was a lob wedge, he'd take out 9-iron and pitch it 3 feet over the bunker. He'd go, well, it's a chip and run. he wouldn't even see that the bunker was an option. He'd just pitch it in the same spot as if the bunker didn't exist. Now, I'm not saying his strategy, mine I think is the safe professional strategy you've got.
Yeah, percentage shot, yeah.
He never played he just played the same shot. And he could play a lob shot. It wasn't like he couldn't. He just pitched it on the mark every time. And I was fascinated. And, because he was the one to look to, if you know what I mean, as an amateur. Yeah. He grew up in the course that Shane Lowry won the Irish Open, when he beat Robert Rock.
Ballyliffin?
Baltray. So that's a magnificent golf course. I'm a great believer, by the way, in the golf course dictates the player that you're going to become. Yeah. So that's Indy course, elevated greens, great short game golf course. And he just came up unbelievable putter, chipper. And that's what the course required. I'm always fascinated watching players around the world and trying to figure out, like, if you come from Arizona, you're going to have an absolutely beautiful swing and be a great ball striker. Because in perfect conditions with no wind and the conditions 90 degrees, hitting the ball a groove lower on the face will show up in 5 yards difference in distance. Playing in a windy day with a lashing rain, you're just happy to hit the club face. Texas, I kind of like Texas because of the fact, it's windy and warm. So you clearly the ability to walk out and be warmed up and swing full out in the heat is much better than as we grew up playing in cold weather with rain gear, where during the winter, I have no interest in going out and playing the local courses in the winter. And unfortunately, my son he's 16. I'm 16 and 12, two sons. So they don't really play golf. So if they express any interest to go, I have to go with them. Or at least my wife sends me. And I have to go up and play 4 holes or 6 holes, and I come home and they're kind of looking at, did you get a bit of work done? I'm thinking, that was
too much, that.
Yeah. Like back to what you were saying before, Padraig, about your short game and knowing you were going to get up and down. I remember sitting, I think it was in Valderrama or Spain somewhere. It was during a rain delay, and me, you, Rob Rock, Jamie Donaldson, a few of us were all sat around, and you were telling a few stories. And I think I asked you, because walking down the last of US PGA when you won, I think you hit the tee shot left, didn't you?
No, right hand bunker.
Right, sorry, right.
Even though I was happy.
Yeah, well, this was the conversation we had. I remember you saying, and this blew my mind, it's the last hole of the major. You hit the tee shot and you went, it'll be fine, I'll make 4 from there.
If you remember, this is the hole, and for whatever reason, as we know, we often carry our own baggage of bad shots, but sometimes carry the baggage of other people. Phil Mickelson, remember, hit it against the fence nearly out of bounds in the Ryder Cup in 2004. So the out of bounds down the left was very much in my... And I hit pretty much a straight shot down the right-hand side, and the bunker kind of tweaks out. It went in the bunker, and I'm thinking, it's okay, it's in the bunker. The problem was when I got down there, and this is sometimes, you can never legislate, I had an awkward stance, and when I went, I actually hit a bad bunker shot. I hit a fat out of the bunker. It's a little bit to do with the stance. Maybe I'm blaming that, but yeah, I wasn't disappointed with it. If the ball's in play for me, I'm happy enough.
That's a good attitude to have, though, isn't it? That, because you just the confidence. I mean, like we said before, the confidence in that short game, knowing that you can just go right as long as I'm in play. It doesn't matter, and that takes so much pressure off the rest of the game, doesn't it? Because you're like, you know what, I can take this pin on, even if it is a tight right pin, because you're thinking, I can get up and down anyway, even if I miss it.
I think, and I remember I actually do remember the time in Valderrama. I get into that age in my life that I sit down at tables and I start throwing everything out there. I think as a younger kid, I would have thought, this is a secret, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But I was sitting at that table, and I think what came up was one of the things about going for pins. So I used to have this argument with Paul McKinley. Paul McKinley was a beautiful golfer. Really, in terms of hitting the ball tee to green, he found it very easy, very, very steady tee to green. So I explained to him that I think he should miss more greens. And like, I had this argument with him all the time. I says, well, one, the rule should be how many, like the stat that's important is how many times is your first cut from inside 8 feet. Maybe you could go 10 feet, because holding inside 8 feet, and you'll often see with the winner of a tournament hasn't missed from inside 8 feet. Now,
yeah, that's the biggest strokes gained, isn't it? Inside 5 to 8 foot, I think your biggest making strokes gained, I think, something like that.
Yeah, so, well, it's 50% from 8 feet. So inside 8 feet, you start getting to 6 and 5 feet, you're getting well up into the 80, 90%. So what happens to McGinley is he starts off the first hole and he hits it to 25 feet. Nice shot. I miss the green. McGinley hits a lovely putt, but it misses because it's 25 feet. The odds it's going to miss. I chip up to 2 feet. Simple chip up to 2 feet. Tap it in. Second hole, McGinley hits it to 25 feet. I miss the green. Miss the fairway, miss the green. I chip up to 3 feet, tap it in. McGinley hits a lovely putt from 25 feet. Misses. Third hole, 4-iron off the tee layup. We both hit wedge into 10 feet. Fair enough. So McGinley stands over his 10-footer and he's thinking, I really don't have the pace of the greens today. I've underbarred the first one, I overbarred the second one. I'm not reading the greens great today. I haven't hit 2 good putts. I'm missing. I stand over my 10-footer and I go, I've single putted the first 2 greens. I'm feeling pretty damn good here. So I'm the one who's more likely to be 1 under after 3 than Paul. And yet he's played better golf. So I used to say, and also it comes to chipping as well. I'm a good chipper because I might have 7 or 8, maybe even more if you count the par 5s. I could have maybe 9, 10 chip shots in a round of golf. Whereas Lee Westwood, Lee would be famous, he's a great ball striker and his chipping is letting down over. Well, Lee only gets 2 or 3 chips around. Yeah. I'm getting in. So I'm getting loads of competitive practice. Whereas the likes of Lee, who's hitting a lot of greens, like a Paul McGinley, so when they get one, all of a sudden it's, what do we, it's.
What you're saying there is exactly my early career. Like exactly that when I first got out on tour. I'd hit it great and I'd miss birdie putt in the first, miss birdie putt in the second, miss birdie putt in the third, miss the 4th green and not get up and down. So where I was thinking, it could be a couple under par, I'm actually now 1 over par and the head would explode and I couldn't figure it out. And then I'm playing with you and you're 2 under and you haven't hit a green. Like,
yes. And the only person, well, not the only person, but the person who got the best balance of that obviously was Tiger. Tiger figured out, he clearly he led greens in regulation, so ball striking he was the best. But he also managed to maintain a short game. Yeah. On top of that, which is really difficult. If you're not giving yourself those pressure chip shots, it's hard to keep your hand in like anything. So that's a final. Again, if I was looking at 2, if you brought me out and says, right, these are the best 2 juniors at my golf club. They're both 15 years of age. They're set for stardom. And which one is better? I go, well, okay, let's see them play. And they go out and play. And they both, you told me they're both as good as each other. And they both shoot 69 that day. 2 fine scores. Which one is going to be the pro? Well, I would, on the basis of limited information, I would pick the one who was in the trees more often on that round than the one who hit all the fairways and greens. Because I know as a pro, you can't hit all the fairways and greens. It just hasn't been done. So we want the player like a Jordan Spieth. Like Jordan Spieth, by all accounts, struggled a bit in his teenage years with his driving. So he learned the fortitude of shooting a score when he had to. Tiger Woods was a bit wild as a kid, seemingly with his driving. So he learned the ability to get up and down when you have to. And that you're going to need it as a pro. Yeah,
absolutely. Like the golf courses are too tough at times. It's designed to stretch every part of your game, isn't it? Your career started, 96 you got out on tour?
96, yeah.
Yeah. So then obviously Tiger, Ryder. So you've seen Tiger develop.
When he came out, it was in many ways better when he came out. As in it was pure swashbuckling, just rip it, hit the shots. When his game improved, so we're talking 2001, those to 2004, 2000 up, from 2000 maybe to 2000, he was great, brilliant, and he really hit some shots. He actually then he got so good, he became quite boring on the golf course.
Right, okay.
He needed to be pushed more.
Yeah.
You know, he got into a stage that, like, he just kept hitting 15 feet left and right with the right shape. It was amazing to play with him. His trajectory control. One big advantage Tiger had, he had more speed than anybody else. So what he did was he dialed back the ball. So he had a much softer golf ball than everybody else and concentrated far more on his ability to control the ball with spin trajectory-wise. So if he wanted the ball to stop, he'd hit it higher, obviously the firm greens, with the same amount of spin, and he'd hit it very spinny and low into the soft green, so it would skid and stop. Great trajectory control. But I often feel that, you know, he played safe a lot during that period because he knew he just didn't need to mess up.
Right.
And I think the period up to 2000, you know, a lot of those unbelievable shots you see, you know, the ones that they played back, are from his earlier career where he took on a lot because, you know, he was young and just was loving it. He definitely, in that later period there, and he improved his weaknesses. Like, he became, you know, whether they said he wasn't a good bunker player, I'm not sure. He became a great bunker player. They said he wasn't a great wedge player. He became the best wedge player on tour. Now, the other stuff was always good. I think if there was more players pushing him, I think he would have just played better. I think just
kept moving it on a stage, moving it on a stage, moving it on a stage.
Yeah.
So he went and won US Open by 15, was it?
Yeah, look, that was a great week. Look, let's say that was a great week on a golf course that he probably was the only one with those greens were like the firmest greens we've ever seen. Like, and they're small. And
small, aren't they?
he had, you know, that golf course, if you're going to set a golf course up for Tiger Woods, that was it. It because of his ability, it gave him the advantage, and the rest of us were left wanting. Interesting story that week. I turned up with my irons that week, and they were 2 years old at that stage. 2000, I had them in the bags. So they were well and truly worn down, and I could not stop the ball on the greens. Just couldn't. So this is actually why the groove rule was changed in 2010. This is the start of it. So I got there and I couldn't stop the ball in the greens. And you don't want to change anything the week of a major in terms of your irons. So I got one of those things you can buy on the internet that hack your grooves out. You know the thing. You know the.
Yeah,
so,
I know what you mean.
So I got my guy to build me a set of golf clubs, spare set. So if this goes wrong, I have a set. But I really don't want to change my actual irons the week of the tournament. So we call the rules official. And we get the wedge, and I go down the groove, hand it to him. He says, "Yeah, that's okay." There you go. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, okay, you're getting there. I did that with my full set of irons with the referee that week. I just hacked each groove out until he said, "There." He says, "Yeah, you're right there now. That's enough." Now, since then, so we couldn't believe it. Now, I cannot tell you. I think I was in second place with 9 holes to go, or close to second place. I cannot tell you the difference that those grooves. I never understood. And all the surveys come out and tell you that no grooves are the same as box grooves off the fairway. Rubbish. I was a new man, right, with these grooves. And right after that, Wilson then, I started presenting these irons to Wilson, and they started cutting them in the factory and building the grooves this way. So every wedge from then on, we would build it and bring it to the referees, the USGA, and say, "Is that okay? Is that okay?" And they would go, yeah. Oh, okay, that one. And we push it, and we just kept pushing it to the limit. So we ended up with grooves. By the time, 2010 came along, as much as it was devastating that they changed the rules for me, they had to. I tell you the difference between the grooves, and people didn't understand. I used to carry a mixed set of grooves on the golf course. So I had 2 full sets of irons everywhere I traveled, one with box grooves and one with kind of V grooves, normal V grooves. And what I would do is I'd look at the course and say, well, you know, if the rough was a certain length, so if the rough was medium length, a 7-iron with box grooves would go about 120 yards out of the rough.
Yeah.
And yet a V groove wedge out of the same rough would go 170 yards.
Right.
Same, so it would be, I'm saying 50, it would be at least 40 yards difference between, and plus you can't get box grooves out of the rough up over a tree. They come out so low.
Right.
So what I would do is I go, okay, that rough is particular rough. Okay, I'll carry a V7, a V9, a V5, box grooves other ways, and mix them up so that when I got in the rough, because you need a fire out of the rough.
Yeah.
So I'd have a club in the rough that would go, and I'd have a club that in the rough would spin if I had to spin it on the green. So I was mix and match. But I don't think people understood box grooves. And after 2000, I tried to go with full box grooves for a few years, and it was a disaster because you can't hit the ball out of the rough with box grooves any distance. It was a battle to figure it out, and I figured it out eventually.
That's
like everyone started to throw. Sorry, Al, go on.
That's just another, like I was going to talk to you. I didn't want to make you feel old by saying you've gone through the technology in terms of drivers and stuff, but is that the biggest thing for you? Not the technology and drivers so much, it's more the grooves was the biggest sort of influence on your game, I suppose.
I think the grooves hit me hard because they didn't necessarily affect other players. Like most players would not have any concept of the difference what a box groove meant in terms of how far an iron went.
Yeah.
They just played with the grooves they were given. It made quite a difference to my wedge play. It made a huge difference to my chipping. And I miss more greens than others. So, you know, as much as it might have, I might actually have an advantage chipping now over the next guy because there's no box grooves in terms of I have more chance of getting up and down compared to him. But if he's only missing 3 greens and I'm missing 8 greens, I actually lose out in the long run. Now, that's correct for golf though, because we are asking the ability to hit the ball tee to green. You know, that there's certainly an element to that you want to give the best ball striker the best chance of winning. Kind of. I think that's... yeah. Well, game was never meant to be fair. People misunderstand that. Golf was never meant... It was meant to be as much a physical test as it is a mental test. And that mental test being fortitude, how to deal with things. But I think the driver, for me, I used a Jay's driver. Do you remember the Jay's driver? Are you guys too young for that?
But too young for that one, mate.
What driver?
A Jay's. I think Jumbo, it was called a Jay. It was wonder who. I bet you I could find one. A Jay's. I have one, and it was a big, deep head at the time. And then, obviously, it's tiny now. But when I turned pro, you mentioned there, I turned pro in 95, and I went to the McGregor week and then the Apollo week, which was a week's orientation before you started the tour. So you went down to, it was Sam Rocca, and you did a week learning about the tour life. And when I went there, I hit a pull fade. That's all I could hit. Pull fade. I was very straight, actually. I was decently straight. And I went there and I met John Jacobs. And John Jacobs taught me how to hit a draw. Very simple. Open the door and close the door. And just make sure you close the door before you get to the ball. That was it. It worked wonders. And so I went, so that would have been, like, it was, by the way, this was before the start of the season. I'd say it was March. That's when we were starting back then, 96. It was definitely February, whatever. So I've gone from hitting a pull fade to a high draw, and that very week, well, it didn't come out that very week, but I got access because obviously the tour trailers were there. I got a great big bird. Yeah. I think I gained 40 yards in that week. And I played for the first 2 years on tour with like a 40-yard sling hook and just loved it. Just loved it. Because I couldn't draw the ball. Can you imagine? It was like I'd gone from hitting this like low cutty shot to now like boom, big draws. Other players were thinking, no, that's not very good, is it? And I'm going, yay!
So that's part 1 done. He's quality, isn't he, PADRAIG? The way he thinks about stuff. I didn't see that groove thing coming. I thought he'd talk more about the driver, but really interesting that. To be honest with you, part 2 gets even deeper into stuff. So a little bit more about his own game, more about the Ryder Cup, obviously. I mean, there's too much to talk about what's in part 2. So if you don't want to miss it, if you click that little notification bell, that'll tell you when the video comes out, and if you subscribe as well, that'll do the same thing. So I'm off to try and hit some 4-irons over the house now. Thanks for watching. See you next Tuesday. I'll see you down the line.
What's that?
You haven't had the phone call yet?
No, I thought I'd just get him try and get this good side doing this, see if I can get a captain's pick.
I could go in here right now and tell you what percentage Paul has of making the team. I could tell you every stat he has. I could tell you who he's matched up with and all sorts of things. It's very late for the player to get picked on the Sunday night before the event, but I don't think he'd complain.
I don't mind, honestly. I honestly don't mind. If that's the case, look, if a Travellers First Reserve, I'm fine.
Right? I don't mind. You're in, I'm going. So I don't mind.